Hello and welcome to this mini review on the Splatoon 2 Octo Expansion. Why am I choosing to cover this now when it was released in 2018? Well, the reason for that is that I've recently been playing quite a bit of Splatoon 2 again, and I've only just committed to purchasing the Octo Expansion because it was on sale recently. And I've got to say, I wasn't expecting it to be anywhere near this fleshed out. So as you all know, Splatoon 2 is probably one of the single best games released on the Nintendo Switch. And it also happens to be one of the only reasons that being a Nintendo Switch Online member is actually worth it. While loads of people jump to Breath of the Wild or Mario Odyssey as being the Switch's killer apps, I would probably say that Splatoon 2 is way up there, potentially in third place. Even with just the base game, you have a single player mode, which admittedly is a little bit lackluster, but it acts as a nice tutorial for the other modes. You have a co-op wave defense mode in the form of Salmon Run, and then you have the main event of the game, which is the competitive multiplayer modes, which consist of Turf War, where you need to compete with another team of squids to paint the biggest area of the map. And then you have ranked battles, which are a lot more objective based, and this happens to be my mode of choice. So what does the Octo Expansion DLC bring to the table that isn't already present in the base game? Well, remember how I said that the single player mode isn't particularly good? The Octo Expansion basically acts as the single player mode that should have been in the game to begin with. It opens up with you creating a brand new character who's separate to the one you've been using in the other modes of the game, and this new character is called an Octoling, which is basically a hybrid of a kid and an octopus rather than a kid and a squid. It's a little bit of a shame that there's not a bit more customization here. Like for example, there's only 4 hairstyles to choose from, which are split between the male and female Octolings, and outside of that, the only thing you can do is change their eye colour and skin tone. Maybe it would have been nice to have gone into more depth here and changed the facial features or something, but I guess that's not really all too important when you're on the battlefield, right? So the premise of the DLC is that your Octoling has just been defeated in battle by none other than the protagonist of the first Splatoon game, which feels almost a little bit meta, like the character you created in Splatoon 1 has just defeated you. It's a really cool touch, and the tease of seeing your Inkling from the first game kept me invested in the events happening throughout the adventure. But anyway, your Octoling wakes up in an underground facility and seemingly has amnesia and can't remember what was going on in the past. You meet up with Captain Cuttlefish, an old war hero, and he gives you the name Agent 8 after you team up to find a way out. The structure of the rest of the DLC is based around doing these bite-sized challenges in order to unlock new areas on an underground subway map. With each challenge you complete, you'll be able to move one space in any direction on the grid, and you slowly uncover more tracks, which opens up more directions to go in. This actually makes the game quite non-linear, because you could choose to go in a completely different direction and uncover different challenges to someone else who's played the game. The overarching objective here is to find 4 objects which will allow you to escape, but of course, because you need to manually uncover the subway map, you have no idea where these things are located. The actual challenges you take part in are really varied and interesting. Sometimes you'll have to shoot a ball to an end goal while protecting it from enemies and being careful not to make it fall off of the edge of the stage. Sometimes you'll need to shoot all of the targets in a certain area within a time limit. Sometimes the challenges will replicate the ranked mode of the game and have you take part in a Rainmaker match against AI opponents, and there's loads more to find here too. What I like about this is that the challenges are actually quite short, but they can get really difficult. If it feels like the base single player of Splatoon 2 was a tutorial, then the Octo Expansion is like playing the game on hard. You do have the option of making the challenges easier though by choosing different weapon loadouts, but by choosing an easier weapon, your reward won't be as high once you complete it. Also, with the game being non-linear, you can also opt to completely skip certain challenges and find another route to get to where you need to go on the map, so the difficulty here is actually really well balanced. I won't ruin the events of the DLC that happen later, but once you've collected the 4 objects you need to escape the subway, the game actually stops using this non-linear structure and becomes a lot more focused on plot development. And I think this is easily the best part of the entire DLC. Not only does it do some really interesting things with the gameplay that we've never really seen explored too much in the other modes, but the conclusion to the experience is so insanely epic that it just needs to be witnessed for yourself. Not only is the Octo expansion great for the single player though, but it also allows you to play as your Octoling in the main modes of the game once you've completed the DLC. That's actually a pretty awesome completion reward, and the DLC must have done incredibly well because you see people using the Octolings for online matches literally all the time. So I'm glad a lot of people have got to experience this. Another thing I loved about the Octo expansion is that there's actually quite a lot of lore and character development, with Pearl and Marina, who are the hosts of the Off the Hook broadcast that you watch at the start of every play session, constantly contacting you via text messages. These messages are extremely well written and give a lot of information about their pasts and showcase the personalities more so than what we've seen in the main game, so that was awesome. I also liked how there wasn't any hidden collectibles in the levels of the Octo expansion. I feel like the hidden collectibles in the base game's single player kinda ruined the flow of the levels a bit because I was constantly having to move slowly and check every single nook and cranny in case I missed something. But it's actually more fun if you go through it with a fast pace and don't bother looking for these collectibles. So the collectibles basically end up clashing with the actual design of the game, and at the end of the day, it makes it less fun, so I'm glad this has been rectified in the DLC. Honestly, if, like me, you've been sitting on the Octo expansion and been unsure as to whether you should pick it up, I would highly recommend you give it a shot. It's definitely worth the price in my opinion, and it's actually really challenging even for someone who's played Splatoon 2 quite a lot. However, the one caveat with this is that if you have literally no interest in a single player mode for Splatoon, or alternatively if you don't like a challenging gameplay experience with it, then this probably isn't for you. But for anyone else, I would say stop waiting to pick this up and do it so that you can get caught up on everything before Splatoon 3 comes out. My only real gripes here is that I wish there was a little bit more customization for the Octolings, and that it would have been cool to have seen the DLC be playable in co-op, but hey, there's always Splatoon 3 for that stuff. If you enjoyed this video, then give it a like, subscribe to see more stuff like this coming soon, and leave a comment letting me know if you're gonna get the Octo expansion, or if you've already got it, what you thought to it. And until next time, bye!